Hello and welcome to Desi Martini. My name is Sandeep, and right now I have with me the creator, the director, one of the directors, obviously, of Aarya, Disney Hotstar's Aarya, Mr. Ram Madhvani. Hello, Mr. Madhvani, and welcome.
Thank you, Sandeep. I also want to say that I'm the co-creator along with Sandeep Modi. I'm one of the directors along with Vinod Rawat.
Yes.
I have two writers, Sandeep Srivastav and Anu Singh Chaudhary. I'm here just making sure that I can take all the credit while they do all the work.
Well, Ram, I had a conversation with the two of them, Vinod and Sandeep,
Right.
yesterday, and they kind of kept on telling me, I want you to speak to Ram. I want you to speak to Ram. I was like, why? Then they were like, uh, you once you speak to him, you'll get to know that in every interview he's been saying the same thing over and over, and we've been telling him so many times. Why have you been taking our names repeatedly? I mean, we are there, and everybody knows it for a fact. You don't really have to reiterate it in every interview. Why do you do it?
My conscience, right? It's my conscience. No, I do it for myself. I do it so that when I meet Sandeep and Vinod again, they feel that yes, they deserve the credit, that they need to get the credit. It just so happens that maine Nirja banai, so I'm like the carrot which is being dangled, that my name is the name that people have now begun to recognize. But it's unfair for me to be, actually it's just not right, it's not fair. I think it's very, very important that they also get their name out there, that the hard work that they have done is recognized by the people. So I find it that I have no problems in sharing credit. I have problems
Mhm.
in sharing blame, because I feel that if anything goes wrong with the show, I am the person responsible. But if anything goes right with the show, they're the people who actually should get all the credit. So that's why I'm here, making sure that their name is out there, because I think we've made something that we're not happy with it, but we're satisfied with it. I don't think as a creative person you can ever be happy, but we're certainly
Yes,
satisfied.
absolutely. I completely get you, and I'm one with you on that.
Right.
Ram, when we are talking about web series and the OTT platforms nowadays, it's really blooming, and especially during the lockdown, things have really taken a completely, 360-degree turn for that matter. It's like oscillated and how, we have films releasing on OTTs as well, and pretty big films that are lined up for an OTT release. So, do you think the OTT platform has actually come of age, and it's high time that we start looking at content with a different perspective, especially with the kind of content that TV has been churning out for ages now?
Well, first of all, I come from advertising, right? So I'm used to uh, having stuff on your mobile phone.
Hmm.
I don't. I make it for television. I make it for whatever platform that we need to get it out there. That's just a platform, right? Whether you do it on a television or a phone or your iPad or in the theaters. I think that as far as Arya is concerned, yes, we tried to make it into a movie. It didn't work out. I'm happy that we've done it for Disney Plus Hotstar, because that's the right platform for Arya. Tomorrow, if I make a movie and if I feel, because yes, we are hopeful people, movie theaters will come back. They have to come back, right? Because if movies stop, because we are in the limelight, we think, "Arey yaar, log picture mein nahi jayenge." Arey, but what about Hindustani classical music? What about theater? What about Carnatic music? What about rock concerts? Are we going to stop all of that? Is it no more will I go to a theater to see a play? No more will I go and listen to an Indian classical singer? So that all will continue as soon as that opens, and it will open soon. We are creative people, are hopeful people. So as soon as that
Yes.
opens, theaters will also open. We like that experience, even though it is disturbing to go to a theater sometimes. Popcorn कोई खा रहा है, कोई phone पे होता है. But even then, एक बड़ा screen का एक experience जो होना चाहिए, that is something which you can get lost in. What happens is that in a theater you go, you get captive. It's a darkened hall. You're not meant to be disturbed most of the time. घर पे क्या होता है? You're disturbed all the time, right? Because when you're watching anything, it's not either you're eating or you're on the phone. And so even though we're the same audience, when you come to the theater, what happens is that you are my prisoner. When I come to your home, I am your prisoner, because you have you have a gun in your hand, and it's called a remote control.
Right.
And remote control means that you have
That's
the
so
power.
true.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's everything is good. All platforms are good, and they'll continue.
Mhm. Ram, you've got to shed light on the fact that, I mean, the very beginning you stated that, I mean, if something good happens to the show, which I'm sure it's going to really rock because, after seeing the trailer, it has received immense love. It has received immense appreciation from all corners, and everybody is really hopeful it's really going to work. Now, when I have a film background myself because I've been a film student at SRTI, direction student. Now I completely understand that, when there are three people working for a particular one particular show or a series or a film for that matter, a difference of opinion happens, and you being one of the most senior persons, I mean, senior most people on the set, as far as the direction is concerned, direction part is concerned, how much, I mean, was it a very cool and a very calm ride, or were there dissension voices from any of the directors? How did it all happen? How did you manage to be on the same plane? And then at the end of the day, when you watch the web show, it is it looking as though it's been directed just by one person, or there are different sensibilities, a pastiche of different viewpoints and perspectives, or color coordination or whatever?
No, Sandeep, I think that's a really interesting question. I think I hope that it's not too limited a question for the audience, but since you've asked me and because you've also come from a directing background and you are a director, I will spend 2-3 minutes talking about it. I hope it doesn't get too boring for the audience.
No, of course not.
It's certainly interesting for you and me, which is that first, I think in our case, certainly, Sandeep was my associate, Vinod, both were my associate directors in media. Sandeep also does advertising for Equinox, and therefore he is part of our company. Vinod has been doing, he's an acting director, and he's been with me for 9-10 years. Okay, for a lot of the ads that I do, in a way, we have grown together in a style and a school of filmmaking that allows us a 360-degree way of operating. It allows us 2-3 cameras. I'm not shackled by the handcuffs of the industrial processes of filmmaking, which is action, cut, shot taking. I don't believe in all of that. I want to do a scene, and I like to do life before action, after cut. I don't use the word action because I feel that as soon as you say action, the molecules and the cells in your blood tense up, no matter what you do, because the way that you say action, and suddenly you say, oh, yeah, camera is rolling, and it's action. I want to stop, get away from all of that. So this philosophy, this system of what I call as the I have 10 rules to get to truth, as stupid as that sounds, but yes, you have to put it down, you have to articulate it, you have to put it down, you have to then tell your team. These are things which I've been, in a way, working on and practicing from Let's Talk, the first movie that I made. And I also do it in advertising. So when you see Har Ek Friend Zaruri Hota Hai, there is a certain energy. I'm here to capture energy. I'm like a person who is actually trying to give you a feeling, and a feeling is something that cannot happen in between action and cut. It has to happen also before. It has to happen from everywhere else. So all of these, how shall I say, manifestos that I get very, as you can see, passionate about, they know, they have worked with me. So first of all, they know the system. Also, we've worked on it, and they've made my work better by following the system. So does that mean that therefore there is no argument or there is no difference of opinion? Of course there is a difference of opinion. Of course there is argument. Of course all of that is some, but you know what? We are all also what I call as, we are like-hearted people. We are Sahriday, number one. Number two, we are all people who have hungry hearts. Number three, we all have a similar sense of belief about what we're trying to capture here. The way to capture it is different. I think those are all the fundamental things that are unshakable things that even as somebody, my job as a director is to have a vision and pass it on. Okay. And I've had many years now doing that with Sandeep and Vinod. We've grown together in a way, and we've learned from each other. I think the word nowadays is not mentor. It's all, we're all co-mentors.
I
Also,
get
I have
that.
to tell you the meaning of the word guru is anybody who takes you from gu and ru means light to dark, light and darkness. Anybody who
Yes.
takes you light from darkness to light is
Hmm.
a guru. Some gurus take you from light to darkness, but a true guru is meant to take you from darkness to light.
Well, I'm sure you're living very adjacent to the very meaning of your name. You're like, your name is Ram, and you're actually living up to the name and the very essence of the name.
I don't know about that, Sandeep. That is a huge responsibility. I'm happy that my parents call me Ram, and it is something that you're going to have to ask other people whether I'm doing justice to the responsibilities of that name.
Mhm. Acha, Ram, now you're going to tell me. Okay, now you're going to tell me
It
about.
take
I
me,
mean,
let's talk, yeah,
I'm sorry.
Between Let's Talk and Nirja, it did take me 14 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just so that you know that since you were saying that I'm named Ram, that for it did take me 14 years to make my next film.
That's really amusing. Okay, so you've got to talk to me a little bit about the casting. They were pretty. What do you call that? I mean, there was so many information. There's so many news articles about the fact that Kajol was supposed to be a part of the film, actually,
Right,
because it was
exactly.
ideated to be a film, and then
Yes,
gradually it was made into a web show when coronavirus
yes,
came in, and it was supposed to release some other time, and it's with IPL. That's what Sandeep
yes,
and Vinod told me.
yeah.
And now, so you've got to tell me a little bit about the casting. How did you zero in on
Well,
Chandrachud? How did you zero in on Sushmita and all of
right.
that?
So it was meant to be a film, and it was meant to be a film 5-6 years ago. This was before Nirja. Kajol was meant to do it. It didn't work out because that's the way, sort of these things are all providential. When the universe conspires, things happen. I'm very extremely fond of Kajol. I just did an ad with her some months ago. And for the web show, because when we realized that we don't want to make it into a movie anymore, and because Fenosa is got 5 seasons, and we said, wow, this is actually something. And then the OTT platforms of the last 3 years have really taken off. And then when Disney Plus, Hotstar, and Endemol Shine approached us and said, would you like to consider what you've been growing now for 9 years? And this was about 2 years ago. They came and they said, would you like to now readapt that and bring it back to what it was actually meant to be, which is a 9-episode, 8-episode, 5-season show? And I said, yes, this story yet lives in my heart. I like the characters. Sometimes stories, no, Sandeep, they escape you. You can write a script and they evaporate. They leave
Yes,
your
yes,
heart.
absolutely.
Yeah, but now this one has stayed with me. It stayed with Amita, my wife, who's my co-producer in Ram Madhvani films. We saw Penosa literally 9 years ago. I yet remember the feeling when I saw it, and I was so attracted to the character. It took me a couple of years to understand how to make it Indian, how to adapt it to an Indian context. But once I knew how to adapt it, and then obviously we wrote the script with Sandeep Srivastav at that time, and then that didn't work out. And then 2 years ago, when I was asked to make it again, I said, yes, I'm ready. And yes, I have a team now. And yes, we would like to actually start a production house which controls what we're doing. And so it all so the universe conspired and it all sort of happened. So that we could then launch Ram Madhvani films with the web series. But having said that, yes, we approached Sushmita Sen at that time, now for the
Mm.
web show, because we felt for that she was right. And I was worried that she would say no, because it's not, it's not as if she doesn't have other work. She's a working woman. She has many other things happening. And when I first met her, I'd worked with her in an ad. And when I first met her, Sandeep, I thought that, because I told her this is the process. Thankfully, she had seen Nija. She knew the process. She knew that she liked the work. And I told her what the subject was, and she said yes. And I thought that how can she was as enthusiastic as a kid actually. She was, I'm going to do this. This is exactly what I have been this is the universe answering back. This is what I put out of the universe. And so she said all of that. And I thought that maybe in a couple of days, her agent or her lawyer would get back and say, she really wanted to do it, etc., etc. I thought she was just being a great actress when she said yes. But she meant it. She actually said yes that day. And so that was wonderful that she said yes, because I could not have found a better Aarya. When we spoke to Chandrachur Singh, he was in Dehradun at that time. And again, obviously these people are being offered many things all the time, right? They're saying no to many people. So Chandrachur Singh again just said yes. And before I knew it, like it all like fell into place. And I could not, and we've invested so much into both of them as human beings, as actors, as talented people. We've invested into them, and I'm so happy that they are now here. And I just hope that I can protect their reputation and the trust that they have had in saying yes to me. I hope that I can repay that trust. And that's why I hope you like it. I hope you like Aarya, coming out tonight at midnight and on Disney Plus Hotstar. So I'll know by tomorrow whether people like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure it's really going to work wonders. I mean, I'm 100% sure of that. I mean, something in a gut feeling kind of tells me.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's going to work wonders. Ram, you've got to tell me the fact that, I have kind of seen your career graph and the kind of films you've made earlier in the past. I mean, everybody talks about, raves about Nirja and all of that. But you have really been successful in the advertisement field as well. And when we talk about people who are into advertisement and they come into films, we get to see a very different kind of a narrative as far as their approach towards the mise-en-scene is completely different. I mean, from say a Karan Johar, or I mean, everybody has a different mise-en-scene way of looking at a particular scene for that matter. But when it comes to people who are into advertisement, they have a different perspective because they have this idea of telling a story in a very short span of time. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you've got to tell me that what exactly do you feel? How would you describe a particular, your mise-en-scene for that matter, and the fact that you have really strong women characters in most of your films. What do you have to say about it? Would you ever do a film which would have, which would perhaps have a very strong male character?
My next film, I better have a strong male character, otherwise I will get bracketed.
Okay.
I didn't choose to make any movies out of so strong women characters. Like I said, Aarya was 9 years ago. In between, Nirja happened.
Yeah.
It just so happened that that's the way the universe wanted it to be. There was a script that was being written by a higher power which I didn't know about. So I was just a character in that script, which is the higher power script. But no, it was not by design that I chose to make women-centric, both of these being women-centric. It's just that 9 years ago, I wanted to make Aarya, and then it happened now. And then 5-6 years ago, Nirja happened. But I don't want to get bracketed, nor do I want to actually ever, say that I make or that these are women-centric films. I think there will come a time when people will say, oh, you're making men-centric films. And I'm hoping that...
Men-centric. That's a good word.
Yeah, I'm hoping that time will come. But having said that, I am surrounded by very strong women. Thank God for them. I'm surrounded. My wife is very, sort of the co-producer, and therefore somebody that I truly respect. My mother. A lot of the crew that I have are all women, and so it's something that I feel that these are things which, in terms of the women-centric script, these things happened. That's one part of your question. The second part of your question is about advertising and whether ad filmmakers and how do we adapt to longer forms. Well, many years ago, I think people used to say कि यार ये ad वाले उनको बनाना नहीं आती है feature film, वो लोग सिर्फ style में घुसते हैं, etc. But I think that has stopped in the last 5-6 years. I haven't been hearing that.
Yes.
Many ad filmmakers out there who are juggling both advertising and feature films and shows, and very, very, very successful films are being made by ad filmmakers. And so I think that has stopped. But having said that, I have learned a lot from advertising. I obviously met my wife when she was working in our office. A lot of my friends are from advertising. There are 3 things that I hold very dear on my learnings to advertising, which is in advertising, we say, what do you want to say? 2, how do you want to say it? 3, how do you want people to feel? And these three things I keep at the back of my mind and at the front of my mind when I'm making movies. So when I'm talking about
So that's
Ninja,
the
let's
5 W's in 1 H. Okay.
So, well, we won't put it down like that, but genuinely that's really I've learned, it's there in my bones. It's what I this is what I practice, this is what I do. And so I've also learned my craft from advertising. I've also learned my work discipline. I come on time. I finish my work on time. If I make a commitment, I keep to it. So all of this is all thanks to advertising. I owe it a lot.
I'm going to be, shutting this interview with one last question.
Sure.
Since the past few days, things have really been very gloomy, Ram. It's been very, it's really taken a toll on the mental health and the physical health of all and sundry, literally. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that. And now the fact that, this nepotism debate is really flared up, and how, what is your take on it? I mean, how do you see things?
Sandeep, I genuinely believe that these are what has happened on Sunday has definitely left all of us completely numb. It's shocked us. These are personal, private matters, and quite honestly, I wouldn't actually want to. I didn't know Sushant. I was a great fan of his work. I would have loved to have worked with him. But this is a personal, private matter. I think today we are here to actually speak about the work that we are going to be showing to the world tonight. And I think that is really what I would rather talk about, and what I'd rather focus on in our conversation today, which is to say that yes, we have Aarya, we have work. I have been able to work in the last 3 months, even though the world and a lot of India has been going through what we've all been going through. I'm very blessed and thankful that I was able to finish Aarya in the last 3 months, even though we did a lot of post-production in lockdown. And you know what? I'm safe at home, and I have food on the table, and I have work to occupy myself. And so I'm just thankful for that, and I count my blessings every day that I'm here able to work. So that's how I'd like you to, sort of leave you with this, that we're really blessed that we are here and we're able to have this conversation.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you, Ram. And my name is Sandeep with Desi Martini. Thank you so much, Ram. It was lovely talking to you.
I hope you like the show.
Bye. Yeah, absolutely.